Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the session of the Tacoma Park City Council. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Stewart,
Here.
Councilmember Kovar,
Here.
Councilmember Dabala,
Present.
Councilmember Costick,
Here.
Councilmember Siemens,
Present.
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Searcy.
Here.
Great. Thank you everyone for joining this evening. This is our last meeting in the month of July, and we will be in recess for the month of August. There are no changes to our agenda and no upcoming schedule posted yet. Our next meeting after tonight will be on September 14th. So look on the city website as we will post the agenda later in the month of August. And now we'll turn to public comments. First, I'll start in the auditorium. Are there any public comments this evening in the auditorium? Seeing none, we had one public commenter sign up online. Ms. Mary Jane Machui, is she with us?
She has not joined us.
All right, we will go to council comments then and see if Ms. Machui joins us later. Are there any council comments? And Councilman Dabala, would you like to start? Oh.
Yes, thank you. Thank you to City TV for allowing myself and Council Member Costick to be remote from the National League of Cities committee meetings in Atlanta, Georgia. I am chairing the Environment and Energy Natural Resources Committee meetings tomorrow and going to a number of other functions down here. I also wanted to personally thank Deputy City Manager Jessica Clark for all of her efforts. I know we'll get to that later, but I wanted to get my dibs in here up front. And to also let Ward 2 residents know that there will be a meeting in September on crime issues for the neighborhoods nearest to New Hampshire Avenue. We're going to wait till September because to do it in August with staff vacations and resident vacations isn't going to work out. So I think that's it. I don't have my notes in front of me at this moment. So I'll pass for now. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Councilman Searcy.
Good evening, everyone. I have a couple of quick updates. First, Hillwood Manor Playground, we're still making progress. Those folks might have seen that the county was out doing some additional stormwater work, and I know that they left one of the grates open. Thank you to Public Works for going out and getting that closed. So we're just now at the stages where we're waiting on the playground equipment. So I'm excited about that. I want to thank all of the Ward 2 residents who have reached out and advocated on behalf of Becca Lilly Playground. The New Hampshire Gardens community has also advocated for a number of things in Becca Lilly. And so thank you for those residents who've reached out. Our Public Works Department has also reached out to the park manager responsible for Becca Lilly, Brian Lopez. And so we are working with Councilmember Dabala to make sure that we're able to make some moderate upgrades to that playground, especially given the amount of rain and erosion that's happened on the site. I also want to just remind folks again, another Public Works item for residents that are on Glenside and Wildwood Drive. We met, had a community meeting with the New Hampshire Gardens Community Association to talk about the various crosswalks that folks would like to have installed around the traffic circles, as well as at locations that are bus stops for kids. And so Public Works will be taking care of those crosswalks. We were hoping to do it this week, but there's a lot of rain. And so we may move over into next week. So I just want to thank Public Works for that. And then lastly, I had an opportunity to attend the vigil for that was sponsored on behalf of the family and friends of the homicide victim, Nursan Mohammed Hamid, and he was murdered in the Advanced Auto Parts parking lot here in the city And it was a pleasure to be able to meet his family and mourn with his family. But I have a sense of pride with how our police department handled that delicate situation. They were there, but they were also trying to actively collect information about the murder and trying to solve the case. And so I do want to thank our police department and the staff that were on site because I think that they did such a wonderful job handling the sensitivity of that event. So thank you all for that. If you know anything or if you heard anything, please contact our police department. And then lastly, I do want to remind folks in the Larch, Kentland, Hopewell neighborhood that we've gotten your comments on the sidewalk project. Next steps is that Public Works will be working to revise or make any revisions that they need to make to the sidewalk design. And then we will circle back with the community. I said lastly, but unfortunately I lied. I do want to thank our outgoing deputy city manager, Jessica Clark. You've just done such an amazing job for the city, and it's a huge loss for us, but we appreciate you and look forward to watching you as you flourish in your new position. And then lastly, I guess rightfully before we are going on to recess, I do just want to let people know that I will be running for office. So I know that we've been asked by residents throughout the community to state our position. And so I will be running. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. I'm going to go now to Councilwoman Costick.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. As Councilmember Dabala said, I am coming to you from Atlanta at the NLC meeting. I chair the Human Development Federal Advocacy Committee, and so I'm here for those meetings as well as the NLC board meetings. And earlier today, I had the chance to lead the Legislative Action Committee meeting, which was a great opportunity to hear from and share our own experiences with how we're spending the ARPA funds and the BIL funds and the ways that these funds are really making a difference in our communities. And so one of the things that NLC staff have shared is just how important it is that we continue to tell this story back to Congress so that they understand how important these funds are to us and that they really are making a big difference. A couple of other items from me. I also want to extend my condolences to the family of Nur Hussain Muhammad Hamid, who, as Councilmember Searcy said, was murdered about a week and a half ago. And I want to thank the police department for their ongoing investigation into this. And as the council member said, also want to encourage anyone who has information about this to please come forward and let us know, let the police department know so that they can continue to do their investigation. And then I have gotten a number of questions from residents regarding the Boyd Alley and a repair there. I just want to let folks know we're aware of it, and I'm continuing to have conversations along with the mayor, with city staff, and it's not in the budget for FY23. It looks like something that would be great to add into the budget for or it's not something that's, I always get my fiscal year screwed up. Yes, it's not something that's in the budget for our current fiscal year, but would be great to add into the coming fiscal year. So that's something we can look into. And then finally, also want to extend my great thanks to Deputy City Manager Clark. And I'm sorry I'm not able to be there sitting next to you for your final meeting, but just want to appreciate you and all that you've done over the past several years. Really, really grateful to you, and you will be very much missed. Thank you.
Great. We'll go back here to the auditorium to Councilmember Kovar.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to mention first, I was able yesterday to testify before the county council in support of a decarbonization legislation they have under consideration. It's basically a bill that would, at the county level, and that would affect the city as well, require that new construction and any renovations that are more than 50% be electric. And it's an important step in the fight against climate change. And it's something that's in line with our own climate framework that we adopted. And so obviously this was just the hearing phase. There's a ways to go, but I was glad to have the chance to testify on behalf of the city at that county council hearing yesterday. I did want to say thanks to the Public Works Department for establishing the battery recycling program. And now it's possible for residents to drop off certain types of batteries. You can look on the website to see which kinds, but most of the common ones at the Public Works headquarters over on Oswego. And this is something that several of us had asked about in the past. And so I think it's great that the Public Works has partnered with an outside organization to take that step. And I hope people who are watching will, next time they're done with their batteries, instead of throwing them out, take them there to be recycled. And then the last thing was I noticed that there was a statement from the our local group, the Chesapeake Climate Action Network, which is an important nonprofit around here, and they lobby in Annapolis and do a lot of important work toward addressing climate change issues. One of the projects that they undertook recently in the last couple of years was a invasive vine removal project, and they just announced that they've removed vines through that volunteer effort many Saturdays over the last, I think, year or two, and they saved something like 4,000 trees. They just announced they saved their 4,000th tree. I'm not sure if they're continuing beyond that or not, but it was a really great thing to read about. I had a chance once to go out on a Saturday morning. It was actually kind of a fun thing to do. So urge people to do that, but I think it's a model for what can be done elsewhere, and certainly appreciate CCAN's excellent work. And as for Jessica Clark, it's been great to work with her. I think we're doing the resolution in a minute, so I'll just wait until then. Thank you.
Great. Councilmember Smith.
First, I want to remind staff that there is a young lady in Ward 5 that has a court hearing on Friday because of some rent issues. Staff says that they are monitoring the situation, but it would be great if either legal counsel, pro bono legal counsel, or a member of our HCD staff could go to the courtroom to help this young woman. She has applied for the county rental assistance program, but she still has a court date. And I think it's just important that we make sure that she can navigate the situation, and she can stay in her building in Ward 5 along with her children and her parents. So I hope staff can look into that as soon as possible. I also want to join my colleagues and thank Ms. Clark for all the work that she and leadership that she has shown here in the city of Tacoma Park. Wish her the best and thank you. Don't be a stranger. And then I also want to join my colleagues and hope that we can find the individual or individuals that committed that atrocity on New Hampshire Avenue. It seems like gun violence just continues to tick up in our region, and we need to look at many ways to resolve this issue so that people do not look for firearms to either solve disputes or because they're just angry. Thank you very much. Oh, and one other thing, I want to thank residents for joining me last week to talk about some of the issues and the future of the city. We'll be having more events. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I'm just. All right. Thank you, everyone. I just want to, don't have too many public comments this evening or comments of my own this evening, but just to thank Councilman Searcy for attending the visual and representing the city and, just expressing our sorrow and sympathies to the family. So thank you very much for doing that. I will turn it over to the city manager for any comments. Welcome back.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of council. I have 4 items for you this evening. I'll start off with the first item is the city of Tacoma Park has made $750,000 available in ARPA funding for fiscal year 23 to assist multifamily, condominium, and cooperative building owners in electrification and building improvements. $250,000 of the funding will go towards multifamily building improvements under the Housing and Community Development Department, and $500,000 will go towards multifamily building electrification improvements under the Public Works Department. Each of the grantees can receive up an award up to about $49,999. The award amounts are dependent on the number of eligible applications received, the number of units in a building, and the work that is being proposed. The electrification and building improvement grant is intended to help any building owner or property manager of a multifamily, condominium, or cooperative residential building that contains 2 or more units transition away from fossil fuel-based systems and help improve major building systems. Previous City of Tacoma Park grant recipients may also apply. To see the full list of eligible and ineligible projects and awardee requirements, you can visit the city website. The grant application was posted on July 15th of this year and will remain open until September of this year. Applications will be received after this date as funding allows. All funded projects must take place between September 1st, 2022 and June 1st, 2023. Second item this evening, I just want to encourage everybody to come out to get to know your neighbors. It has approached very fast this year. National Night Out is next week, Tuesday, August 2nd, 6 to 9 p.m. at Piney Branch Elementary School next door, 7510 Maple Avenue. This is an opportunity for us all to recommit our commitment to being strong partners with our police department to fight against crime and increase safety in our community. There'll be a lot of fun games, face painting, dunking booth, basketball, McGruff. The crime dog will be there as well for the kiddies. So it's a great opportunity. Hope to see everyone out. The next item I have this evening is Montgomery County COVID-19 community level is high. So we're encouraging everyone to stay up on your vaccines, wear a mask indoors in public, regardless of your vaccination status, get tested if you're having any symptoms or exposed. And the last item that I have this evening, I just want to start off by saying my appreciation and thanks to Deputy City Manager, Ms. Clark. It's been an awesome time being a partner with Ms. Clark over this year. My year is approaching next week. And Ms. Clark's done a great job, even in my absence, my vacation. Thank you for allowing me to take a vacation. It was well appreciated. But we're definitely going to miss you as an organization and community. And just thank you for your strong leadership that you provided through some tumultuous times that we've been through, and with COVID, inflation, and everything else that's happening in the market since you've been here 2.5 years. And just really going to miss working with you. And I know you're going to do awesome and mighty things in your next stop and your next endeavor. So wish you well. With that transition, I just wanted to share, as I share with council, we had some temporary promotions. Greg Clark and Roz Grisby will be acting deputy city managers, splitting up the work that Ms. Clark has done for the community and the city. Alex Freeman will be moving to acting community development manager for planning and community development. Debbie Huffman will be acting recreation director. Lori Cannon has been acting HR director. And throughout this transition, we've had 2 promotions. Ian Chamberlain has been promoted to deputy director of public works. And of course, David Eubanks has been promoted to HCD director. And these transitions will help us as we move forward and try to continue to staff up across the organization. With that, Madam Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you.
Great, thank you so much. And I just want to extend our appreciation to the staff, those who are taking on the positions and on an interim basis, and also congratulations to those who have been promoted. So thank you for letting us know that. Has Ms. Michui joined us? Okay, then we will move on to adoption of minutes. We have minutes for February 9th, 16th, and 23rd of this year. Would someone like to move adoption of those minutes? Councilmember Kovar moved, Councilwoman Searcy second. And because we have so many people remotely, I'm going to ask for each of the votes tonight to be done verbally. So I'll ask the clerk to call the vote.
Councilmember Kovar,
Aye.
Councilmember DeBala,
Yes.
Councilmember Costick,
Yes.
Councilmember Siemens,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Searcy. Aye. Mayor Stewart.
Yes. All right, then we'll move into our voting items this evening. Our very first voting item is a resolution expressing appreciation to our Deputy City Manager, Jessica Clark. And I'm actually going to read the resolution because I want everyone to hear it. So whereas Jessica Clark became the Deputy City Manager of the City of Tacoma Park on March 20th, 2020. And whereas Ms. Clark assumed her leadership role as Deputy City Manager during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic and was onboarded virtually due to the closure of the city offices and buildings to the public. Whereas the pandemic continued, Ms. Clark led many strategic projects and guided the city through various issues that impacted city operations. And whereas Ms. Clark was instrumental in negotiating and working with the county, establishing COVID-19 testing sites in the city, and then later working with the numerous nonprofits to arrange many vaccine clinics, allowing residents of the community to receive needed care within the city. And whereas Ms. Clark assisted with the development and implementation of the city's telework policy, which promoted work-life balance by allowing flexible scheduling options for city staff and the creation of the city's vaccination attestation policy and COVID-19 health and safety protocols to lower exposure risk for both staff and residents. And whereas Ms. Clark led many significant projects, including FY22 budget development process, the ARPA spending plan, and the library redevelopment project. And whereas Ms. Clark led the final negotiations on tax duplication for the city and worked with colleagues across Montgomery County to come to a resolution with the county. And whereas Ms. Clark oversaw the meetings and work with Adventist Healthcare to develop a proposal for primary and behavioral health in Tacoma Park. And whereas Ms. Clark took on the duties as city manager during the transition in leadership in the summer of 2021 and worked tirelessly to ensure a smooth leadership change for staff, the council, and the public. And whereas thanks to Ms. Clark's tenacity, steady leadership, and commitment to excellence, she helped guide the city into the future during unprecedented times. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the council of the city of Tacoma Park that great appreciation is given to Jessica Clark for her over 2 years of distinguished service to the people, council, and staff of the city of Tacoma Park. And be it further resolved that best wishes are extended to Ms. Clark in her next professional chapter. All right, I will ask if someone would like to move the resolution. Councilwoman DeBala moved, Councilman Costick second. Any comments or amendments to that? Councilmember Kovar first.
Well, I don't have any amendments. I think you covered it well. I just really want to say thank you to Jessica. And I don't know how many people realize it, but she started the Monday after everything basically shut down here. I remember in mid-March of 2020, and that was when over that weekend, things began to really be closed down, and she began her tenure with the city on that Monday. And so the entire time, 2.5 years that she's worked here, it's been under kind of the specter of COVID. And so a lot of people who might otherwise have had a relatively easy opportunity in the community to meet her didn't really get to do it. In fact, I remember on the first meeting, your image was up on the screen, and I got a message from someone saying, can you tell the new deputy city manager to, actually show herself, just because people want to know what you look like. But that was the introduction. And despite all of that, I really appreciate all the work that you've done, and you've been a great source of information for us and help for us in leadership. And at times before we had a city manager, or if he's been away briefly, you've admirably filled in. And I think on COVID alone, you did a lot of great work to help bring testing and vaccination initiatives here to the city, but I'm not going to mention every other thing you worked on, but I just want to say I really do appreciate it and hope your next step does go well. Thanks.
Councilmember Siemens.
Thank you, Mayor. And I would just like to thank Jessica for all the work that she's done here and her dedication to the job. I wish you well in your new job, and I look forward to seeing your new employer and that locality, learning some things from what you learned here in Tacoma Park. Best wishes.
Councilwoman Costick.
Thank you. I said a bit before, so I don't need to say a lot, but I just want to reiterate my thanks. And also just say that, you know, a lot happens behind the scenes that doesn't always happen in the meetings for residents to see. And with Ms. Clark, just, you know, a lot of work that you've done that isn't always visible in the public eye to make things happen and make things possible. So thank you, and thank you for your dedication. And I've always known I could call on you, and just really appreciate that you have been with us for this time, and wish you all the best in the future.
And I'll just add, I don't want to reiterate, but I think the resolution covers so much, and it really has been incredible to have you here. There's just no way we would have been able to implement all the things that we have, and you really helped us face challenges and turn those challenges into opportunities for our community. And even under the most stressful situations, your level of professionalism has been just remarkable to me. So I thank you for that, and your energy, and you're going to be very missed. So thank you. All right. And with that, I'll ask the clerk to call the vote.
Councilmember Kovar,
Aye.
Councilmember DeBala,
Yes.
Councilmember Costick,
Yes.
Councilmember Siemens,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Searcy,
Aye.
Mayor Stewart.
Yes. All right.
Mayor
next,
Stewart, before we move on, I just wanted to say a few quick comments. It's a few thanks of my own. I just want to thank everyone so much for the well wishes. I also can't believe it's been 2.5 years and one pandemic, one recession, and 2 budget cycles later. But it's truly been my honor and privilege to advance the priorities of this council. I really feel this council has made historic progress on a number of initiatives that really preserve the values of this community and that protect the future of Tacoma Park. And I've been really proud to be a part of that progress, and I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to serve the city of Tacoma Park. And there's really too many things to name tonight, but really proud of the accomplishments of this council over the past 2 years, and that I got to kind of be along for the ride for almost a full council term has been a really great experience for me. I also want to thank City Manager Fox, former City Manager Ludlow, all of our department heads, and the entire city staff. I could not have asked for a more dedicated, hardworking, talented team of people to work with. That's also been my honor and privilege, and I'm continue to be amazed at what they accomplish on a daily basis. And then I just wanted to close by just saying that Tacoma Park truly is an exceptional place, and I've been able to witness that firsthand. There's a quote I wanted to raise tonight that I've thought about a lot over the 2 years. As you walk into the community center, a lot of you probably know that former Sammy Abbott has a plaque there that says, if we can't make it happen here in Tacoma Park, there is no hope for the nation. And I can say that after what I've seen happen here over the past 2.5 years, I'm very hopeful about what a local government can achieve for its people. And as Councilmember Siemens says, I'll be sure to hold the next local government I'm a part of to the same high standard that Tacoma Park models every day here. So thank you all so much. And it's been my honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So we will move on now to our, I feel like we should just end the meeting. Too many things to vote on. But we'll move on to our next items, and we need to vote on the budget amendment. But first, we need to convene as the Stormwater Management Board. So would someone like to move to convene as the Stormwater Management Board? Councilman Searcy moved. Do I have a second? Councilmember Kovar. Will the clerk call the vote to move into the, sorry.
Councilmember Kovar,
Aye.
Councilmember Dubala,
Yes.
Councilmember Costick,
Yes.
Councilmember Siemens,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Searcy,
Aye.
Mayor Stewart.
Yes. All right, so the first item we have is the second reading ordinance approving the FY 23 Stormwater Management Budget Amendment number 1. There were no changes from the first reading. Would someone like to move this? Councilmember Dubala moved, Councilwoman Searcy second. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, will the clerk call the vote?
Councilmember Kovar,
Aye.
Councilmember Dubala,
Yes.
Councilmember Costick,
Yes.
Councilmember Siemens,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Searcy,
Aye.
Mayor Stewart.
Yes. Next, we have the second reading ordinance approving FY 23 budget amendment number 1. Again, there was no changes from the first reading. Would someone like to move this? Councilwoman Searcy moved. Do I have a second? Councilman Costick second. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, will the clerk call the vote?
Councilmember Kovar,
Aye.
Councilmember Dubala,
Yes.
Councilmember Costick,
Yes.
Councilmember Siemens,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Searcy,
Aye.
Mayor Stewart.
Yes. I do not believe we have had the city attorney join us yet, so we're gonna hold on the conversation and vote on the election ordinance and move next to the single reading ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for outfitting of lease space for temporary relocation of the library. This is a single reading ordinance. Before I ask for it to be moved, does the city manager want to discuss anything? Nope.
No changes from last week.
Okay, great. Would someone like to move the single reading ordinance? Councilman Searcy moved. Do I have a second? Councilmember Siemens. Any comments or questions on this? Councilmember Kovar, is that a hand raised for this one? Nope, okay. Councilwoman Dubala.
Yes, just to clarify, last week we voted on a contract for a temporary lease. And I just want to make sure I've got that right, that this is voting on a contract for making that leased space into a library and offices. So the outfitting of this leased space, not the lease itself. Have I got that right? Two different topics, two different votes.
There's two different topics, but just to one clarification, last week, what we voted on was to give authority to the city attorney and the city manager to negotiate a lease. We did not vote on a lease.
Right, I'm sorry, I missed.
I just want to clarify what we
Yeah,
voted.
thank
on.
you for clarifying.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point here. So this is, again, regardless of where the negotiations wind up putting the library, this is to outfit the space. Got it, thanks.
Any other? Now you have a light on? No. Now I lost everybody. All right, seeing no other hands, I'll ask the clerk to call the vote.
Councilmember Kovar,
Aye.
Councilmember Dubala,
Yes.
Councilmember Costick,
Yes.
Councilmember Siemens,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
No.
Councilmember Searcy.
Aye.
Mayor Stewart.
Yes. Okay, then next, staying on the library, we have a single reading ordinance awarding a contract for moving services for temporary library relocation. And this we did also speak about last week. Does the city manager have anything to speak on this topic?
Nothing new this week, Mayor.
Okay, great. Would someone like to move this single reading ordinance? Councilman Searcy moved. Do I have a second? Councilman Costick second. Any questions or comments on this one? Councilman Dubala.
Sorry to keep asking questions. I don't have it in front of me at the moment. The dollar amount on this was moving services up to a certain amount of money. What was that dollar amount?
The total cost for TPM Group was 132,406.
Okay, thank you. And that is, second question, that is to move out and to move back, or only to move out?
Director Jones is going to answer that, Councilmember.
Sorry.
It is also to move back into the building after it's finished.
Yeah, I thought I remembered that. Okay, so it's a pretty comprehensive services contract for that amount of money. Thank you.
It is, yes. It includes moving all of the books, which is a pretty specialized move, as well as moving the rec center offices, or not rec center offices, but the recreation department offices, and then moving everybody back into the building after construction.
Great. Any other questions, Councilwoman DeBala?
No, thank you.
Okay. Sorry, there's a bit of a delay while we take, that's Councilman Costick.
Thank you. I just wanted to share that I was actually in the library the other day, and there was a resident who lives in Tacoma Park, but herself was a librarian, and was talking with the librarians about the move, and was saying, you know, wow, you're going to have to move all this stuff. This is going to be a huge undertaking, and was commenting on how important it is to have help with that, and really, you know, making sure that there are systems in place, and working with groups that know how to do this. So I just reiterated for me how important this is, and so it was kind of interesting to be able to eavesdrop on that conversation among librarians. So I appreciated that. Thank you.
I had a similar experience actually on Saturday. I was at the Kensington Library for the drag queen story time, and speaking to the head librarian there. I know, Director Jones, you had been searching for carts around the Montgomery County area. And so I was glad when I got to read this that we were able to find a proposal that had carts, so that you were not spending your time begging the other libraries to borrow their carts. And it makes perfect sense to get somebody who has all the materials to make sure we do this move properly. So thank you for that. All right, seeing no other questions or comments, I will ask the clerk to call the vote.
Councilmember Kovar,
Aye.
Councilmember DeBala, Councilmember
Yes.
Councilmember Costick,
Yes.
Councilmember Siemens,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
No.
Councilmember Searcy.
Aye.
Mayor Stewart.
Yes. All right, next we have a single reading ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for solar panel relocation, storage, and replacement. Anything to tell us about that before we move on? Nope, same.
Nothing new this week.
All right, would someone like to move this single reading ordinance? Councilman Searcy, do I have a second? Councilman DeBala, any questions or comments on this one? Councilman DeBala.
Again, just to clarify, as I understand this, this is for the existing panels. Take them down, move them, store them, mount some portion of them temporarily so we get some power from solar panels during the construction, and then put them back on the roof when the roof is done. And then separately from this, if I understand it correctly, we are looking to add solar panels. The library was wired to accept quite a bit more solar power for the community center. And that'll be handled as a separate contract at some point after the recess, when we have a little more time on that. Have I got that all basically right?
That's 100% correct.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments on this one? If you're remote, you can just jump in because I can't see you at the moment. I just see Councilman DeBala. Right, I'm going to take that as a no and ask the clerk to call the vote on the single reading ordinance.
Councilmember Kovar,
Aye.
Councilmember DeBala,
Yes.
Councilmember Costick,
Yes.
Councilmember Siemens,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Searcy,
Aye.
Mayor Stewart.
Yes. All right, next, we have ratification of wage agreement with Local 400. This is an emergency ordinance amending the annual budget in order to provide wage adjustment compensation to city employees. And I will turn it over to the city manager to discuss this item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of council. I just want to first start off by just thanking Local 400 for their partnership for a successful reopener during the bargaining session on wages this year. What you have before you is the ratification. Local 400 took the negotiation to their membership on Monday evening. Their membership ratified approving the 6.5% that was offered to Local 400. And what we're requesting this evening is approval of their ratification of their agreement, as well as approval of the ordinance amending the annual budget for UFCW Local 400, ratifying the 6.5%. Also 1.5% for all non-represented employees, and then 10% for 14 members of the Tacoma Park Police Leadership, which will cost about $251,157.48. And with the 10% for the 14 members of the Tacoma Park Police Department, you will remember our Bolton, our consultant who did the wage study, acknowledged that in reviewing our wages, the police department in totality from sergeants and above were at least 10%, 2 grades below everyone else. And in order to mirror the 50% of 50 percentile of market, they needed to be not only brought over with the 6.5%, but also they needed to be brought up 2 grades, which equates to the 10% for you. The other piece to this, the reason you're not seeing ASME Local 3399 is because they chose not to call a meeting of their membership for ratification prior to Monday due to their leadership vacations. They have called a meeting for next week, and we'll be bringing an ordinance similar to this one this evening in the fall after your recess.
Thank you. Councilmember Siemens.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to voice my support for this. I think it's a huge step towards equity and pay, and I appreciate the work that the city manager has put into this.
Thank you, Councilmember Siemens. Councilman Searcy, did you?
I just want to echo Councilmember Siemens' appreciation of all of the hard work the city manager, deputy city manager, and our legal staff have been working really hard and working out an agreement. So we really appreciate you all taking time out and moving forward with the organizational assessment and the wage study, which has really been helpful in terms of making some of these decisions a lot easier to make. I think with turnover just generally in a recession, just where staffing is right now, just across the board, anything that we can do to try to make sure that we're at least on par with other communities in order to retain staff. I think it costs us more money to continuously have to replace staff. So I appreciate all of the hard work that you all have done to analyze the issue, but also make sure that we're able to have the monies in the budget so that we can do what we need to do today. So thank you.
Great. And I'll just say, this comes to us, and I know that the city manager referenced the wage study that Bolton did. And if people are interested in looking at that, it is on the city website on the agenda page. And we had a very thorough conversation with the representative from Bolton on that a couple of weeks ago. So if people miss that work session, they can go back and review that. But there's a lot of information provided in that we'll be able to use moving forward. So thank you again to the city staff for this. So as the city manager noted, there are 2 voting items here. First is the ratification of agreement with Local 400. It's a resolution, and then we'll have the emergency ordinance in order to be able to process and move the money in the budget. So first, I would ask for someone to move ratification of agreement with Local 400. Councilman Siemens moved, Councilman Searcy second. Any other questions or comments on that? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to call the vote.
Councilmember Kovar,
Aye.
Councilmember DeBala,
Aye.
Councilmember Costick,
Aye.
Councilmember Siemens,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Searcy,
Aye.
Mayor Stewart.
Yes. And then next is the emergency ordinance amending the annual budget to provide additional wage adjustment compensation to city employees. Would someone like to move that? Councilman Searcy moved, Councilmember Siemens second. Any questions or comments on that one? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the vote.
Councilmember Kovar,
Aye.
Councilmember DeBala,
Muted again.
Aye.
Councilmember Costick,
Aye.
Councilmember Siemens,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Searcy,
Aye.
Mayor Stewart.
Yes. All right, the next item is a consent agenda, but we're going to pull one of the items from it because we have an amendment. So I'm pulling from the consent agenda, the single reading ordinance approving a contract for the ARPA Direct Cash Assistance Program. Councilwoman DeBala has a,
2 votes. It was the resolution.
wait, did I miss the ordinance?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Did we vote just once? We voted on the resolution, then we voted on the ordinance. Okay, I've been crossing things off. Because there's so many things to make sure. See, my sheet has everything crossed off. No, it's okay. Consent agenda. All right, we're pulling from the consent agenda. The single reading ordinance approving a contract for the ARPA Direct Cash Assistance Program. Councilwoman DeBala had an amendment. I'm pretty sure it's a very friendly amendment. So we will insert it before I ask it to be moved, and the city clerk will pull that up for all of council to see.
And Madam Mayor, we do have the ARPA manager virtual if there's any questions, council.
Great, thank you very much. And I want to thank our ARPA manager for helping with the wording of this. As we pull it up, Councilman DeBala, do you want to speak to it?
Yes, briefly. Last week, we had an extensive discussion with Shepherd's Table and Live Stories about outreach and how it would work and the wealth of nonprofits that Noctacoma Park that Shepherd's Table and Live Stories could draw from in terms of outreach, marketing, promotion of the program, finding the people who need to be found and let know that they are eligible for this. And so I suggested to staff that it might be useful to have an additional whereas that gives our intent as a council for how we would like to see these groups incorporated into the outreach. So not amending the actual contract, not adding another task, not adding more money, just saying, and here's the way that we think you can take advantage of what's around you. And so that Ms. Martin was very helpful in crafting the language for this whereas community outreach is essential to the recruitment efforts of this program. The contractor will work with Shepherd's Table and city staff to identify other local nonprofits to assist in marketing and outreach activities to ensure that targeted households are made aware of the program and the application requirements. That seems to me to hit it pretty much right on the nail, on the head, but let's see what everybody else thinks. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone have any questions, concerns about adding this to the ordinance? Councilmember Smith.
This is the first time seeing that this limit. I guess my question for staff would be, how will you determine which organizations that you should reach out to? Is it what metrics will you use?
Ms. Martin, are you on?
It's hard to tell who's on here now.
Yes, Ms. Martin, you should be able to come on screen if you wish.
Do we see Miss Searcy?
She's on, but she's not showing up. I don't know.
Councilmember Smith, we'll be able to provide those metrics at a later date, but city staff will be working with the Shepherd's Table as well as Life Stories and developing the pool of nonprofit partners and others in Tacoma Park that we need to be able to reach out to. We have a list of partners that we have used in years past that we will be able to bring to the table with the consultant and the Shepherd's Table.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. I would just say that, I hope those partners have experience working with our residents in the multifamily properties. Even an organization like Lunch and Learn, who knows these families, touches these families. I just hope we don't have a relationship with somebody that maybe has had a contract with the city years ago and sees this as an opportunity to once again establish a financial relationship with the city. But organizations that have an ongoing thorough relationship with the people that actually need the help and have some of that lived experience, I think would be critical for this type of expanding of the organizations that are supposed to work on this, other than, or I guess in addition to Shepherd's Table.
Thank you, Councilmember. We'll definitely take that under consideration as we move forward.
Councilman Searcy.
Great. Thank you so much. And I hope Ms. Martin is able to join, because I know that she answered a question that I had raised, which might speak to Councilmember Smith's question. We recently issued the food insecurity grants in the contract with CHEER to kind of facilitate outreach as it relates to food insecurity. And one of the questions that I posed to Ms. Martin was, how could we perhaps leverage those grantees or those existing grantees, which we know have a really close connection, such as Small Things Matter, with many of the multifamily buildings throughout the city? And would that be possible for us to leverage those awardees to also help us with outreach as it relates to this program? And she confirmed that that was something that would be possible to do. So I do think that we have, perhaps through some of our other programs, the mechanisms in place to tap into some of the well-known local nonprofits that are already have those connections with families and are already in our community to help spread the word about this program.
Great, thank you, Councilman Searcy. Councilman DeBala, do you still have a question or a comment? Yep.
I have one comment about what was just raised, which is that my intent was exactly that. Groups that are in direct connection with the families who need the help. Both of the council members who spoke before me used almost those exact same words. And that is the idea, not, and again, this is not a contract amendment. It doesn't add money or redivide the money. That's another conversation. This is to say that this is our intent, is that those groups with direct connection to the families be included in the outreach. It's exactly the point. Thank you.
Okay, not seeing any other hands. Then we'll move the ordinance with the amended language from Councilwoman Dabala. Would someone like to move the ordinance? Councilman Searcy moved. Do I have a second? Councilmember Siemens. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the vote.
Councilmember Kovar.
Aye.
Councilmember Dabala,
Yes.
Councilmember Costick,
Yes.
Councilmember Siemens,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Searcy,
Aye.
Mayor Stewart.
Yes. All right, next we have the consent agenda, and that includes now 4 items. An ordinance authorizing execution of a contract for services with Montgomery County for rental inspections. The single reading ordinance approving a contract for a tree canopy pilot program, resolution providing appointments to the Emergency Preparedness Committee, and resolution providing for the City Council summer's recess. Would someone like to move the consent agenda? Councilman Searcy. It's hard to look at both. Councilman Costick, second. I will ask the clerk to call the vote.
Councilmember Kovar,
Aye.
Councilmember Dabala,
Yes.
Councilmember Costick,
Yes.
Councilmember Siemens,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Searcy. Aye. Mayor Stewart.
Yes, I am. So our only item, and we have not been joined yet by the city attorney, but maybe the clerk can bring it up.
Sure.
And I did have a request, Deputy City Manager Clark, if the other members of the city council were not able to see the flowers we got them. So people would like to see the lovely flowers that the city council got the deputy city manager today. So I don't know, can we play the? Yeah, they're beautiful.
Thank you all so much.
Great. And the other thing, as we're waiting, I will give you another gift. Just in case you ever forget your roots here in Maryland, you have an Old Bay bag that you can take with you wherever you go.
Oh my God. I thought it was yours. I was like,
Yeah, no, it's yours, I think.
oh, really? Thank you so much.
Just in case. All right, I'll ask the city clerk to bring it up. I think there was if we just want to look at, I think there were some minor changes from the first reading, and then another section that was added based on a question that Councilman Costick had raised.
All right, so give me just a moment,
Okay.
please. I'm almost there. All right, if someone could remind me what page the
I think it's on.
amendment is on. I think it was. It's on page 6 of 28, and it's line, and here's the city attorney now, and it's line
Oh,
24 on page 6 is the change that was made since first reading.
Great. So we will turn it over to the city attorney. We actually got through our entire agenda fairly quickly tonight, and so this is our last item. If you want to speak to the change that was made since first reading.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and good evening, everybody. I apologize for the delay, and I appreciate everybody's patience. And I commend you on the alacrity with which you move through the agenda. There were several questions that were asked in the last session one of which was asked by Councilmember Costick as it related to the meaning of person and as it related to political committee and an individual running for election. And so one of the things that I want to make clear is the definition of person in the code is very broad, necessarily so. And I wanted to make sure that the code was clear that by simply indicating that a political committee would be required to register, it does not alter the requirement that election law, the city's elections laws apply to any person. And that is because in the legal world, the word person can mean any type of thing, such as a corporation, some other form of entity, a political committee, an actual individual. So that's more of a legal drafting issue, and it was the best way to address the question that Councilmember Costick asked, which was a very nuanced question. So I appreciate the question.
Great. Thank you for that. Councilman Costick, do you have any additional questions or follow-ups?
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I'm trying to avoid laughing to figure out if the nuanced question was a dig or
No, absolutely not. I appreciate the legal astuteness of the question.
I do have a separate question, though, unrelated to this. Would now be a good time to ask it, or?
Let me just double check with my colleagues to see if there are any questions on this section, or does the changes from first reading look okay to folks? All right, not seeing any other questions. Councilman Costick. I believe so. Yes, that's the only substantive, yes, change. We had made some, I think, minor changes last week, but yeah, that's the only substantive one. Okay, Councilman Costick, why don't you ask your next question?
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that what we ended up with was in the section about reports was what we had discussed at our last meeting. I actually don't remember where we ended up, but I remember we eliminated that additional report, which is reflected here. I thought at one point in time that we discussed changing that. So we have a post nomination report. This is on page 10. We have a post nomination report, which is filed the second Monday. And then we have a pre-election report, which is filed the fourth Monday. I thought I recalled that we discussed changing that to the third Monday, but I might just be recalling incorrectly, in which case I don't have an amendment. I just want to make sure that is everyone else's understanding as well.
So, Mayor, I don't know if you want me to respond.
Yes, if you have, and yes, go
Right,
ahead,
so-
you can answer.
So I agree with Councilmember Costick that the third Monday was discussed. My recollection, and I double checked this several times because there was quite a bit of back and forth. I'm certainly open to if somebody thinks that I got it wrong, but my recollection in my notes and my review of the meeting indicated that the mayor made an amendment to strike what is number 3 and what is stricken there. And that was what was voted on ultimately.
Yeah, I'm also looking back at my notes from the meeting, and I think Councilman Costick, you're correct that there was a conversation regarding changing the date or whether or not it was the fourth Monday preceding the election. And I think we discussed the fact that if it was moved, it would later, that it wouldn't give the opportunity for folks to then file any either complaints or questions about the report in time for the before the election. And then if it was too soon, there was still opportunity for people to get donations before. So it seemed, and if I'm counting correctly, the election's on November 8th. So this would be October 17th. I'm looking at the city clerk to make sure.
Yeah, that's right. Mayor, if I can.
Yeah, Councilman Cohen.
My recollection is, although I acknowledge I was a person who had favored having the additional report, the way we adjusted them here does space them out evenly.
Yeah.
So that they're roughly 3 weeks apart each time. And so whether that's better than having the extra one like I want to, is a separate question, but I think with the specific frequencies that we have set up here as it stands, it's evenly spaced. And so that at least I think
Mhm.
does make sense.
That sounds good to me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments before we move the second reading ordinance?
I just, if I may, the post-election report, which I think in the last version was not updated, but in this version it is the third Monday following the election rather than
Right.
the.
And that was a change we had made before first reading,
Yes.
but hadn't gotten carried over to first reading. And it's been-
That's correct. Yep.
All right. Will someone like to move the ordinance? Councilman Costick moved. Do I have a second? Councilwoman Searcy, any other questions, amendments? Seeing none, will
I
the clerk?
just- I have a
Oh, sorry.
comment.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Just a comment on two items. So we spent a lot of time trying to figure out exactly how to set up the registration requirements, especially for groups. I think that was a bigger challenge for us than the registration for candidates. And also what we just talked about, which was the appropriate frequency of the filing of the campaign finance reports. And I'm comfortable with where we ended up, but I do think those are both areas that merit some careful watching during the campaign and really after the campaign is over, seeing how that worked out. I understand that in both of those cases, to the extent that someone thinks there's anything untoward, it's on that observer to bring it to the attention of the city staff or the Board of Elections. So I'm not asking people to run out and start investigating everybody, but I just think since we are making adjustments in both of those areas again, and these are two of the key areas that are aimed at helping to ensure campaigns are run in a good and ethical way, that they're taken seriously and that we really do pay attention to them. And maybe after the election, other people will be here than myself, but that a look be taken back and just to see how that played out. So I'll just make that general set of comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kovar. Seeing no other hands, I'll ask the clerk to call the vote.
Councilmember Kovar.
Aye.
Councilmember DeBala.
Yes.
Councilmember Costick.
Yes.
Councilmember Siemens.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Abstain.
Councilmember Searcy.
Aye.
Mayor Stewart.
Yes. All right, that is our last voting item, our last agenda item for this evening. The council is now adjourned and will be in recess until September 14th. But just because we're in recess, obviously, the city staff is always at work. And I know council members may be hopefully going on vacation, taking care of themselves, relaxing a bit, but I know all of us are usually available by email as well. Just, if there is an item, I just remind people that does need urgent care, that to contact our city manager, our police department, Public Works, particularly at this time. So I thank everyone for all their work. And again, Ms. Clark, thank you for your service to the city, and we're adjourned.
Best
Thank you.
wishes.